Possible if Herb's here. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Oh, good, good. Because I'm unverified, whatever that means.
Mine says unverified also, but I know that I registered or did their little sign-in thing last time, so I don't know why. I was verified last time, but not this time.
It reminds me of that movie, Over Out.
Mm-hmm.
He would say he was bona fide.
Mhm.
Mama says you ain't bona fide.
It's a great movie.
Lee's not here yet?
Nope.
Don't see Lee. Don't see Don. Don't see Andrea.
Might be a short meeting.
Yeah.
Well, Lee had asked me to conduct the meeting today. We
Okay.
do have enough for a quorum, so we could go ahead and get started and hope that Lee and Andrea will join us during the conversation. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. First thing is we have several sets of minutes that were sent out yesterday for review, that being the January 11th meeting, the special meeting on the 19th, and then the February 8th meeting. So I don't know if you've had a chance to review those, if you've got any questions, corrections.
I make a motion for the January 11 minute meetings to be approved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. What about the special brief meeting we had on the 19th?
Yes. Motion to approve.
Okay, second on that one.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Okay, then we get to February 8th.
What do you say, Connie?
Oh. Oh. Um.
You'll put her on the spot, Herb.
Approve the meetings.
Make a motion to
Approve the
approve
minutes.
unless you have some corrections or changes.
There is one small error, and it's we're talking about the paragraph that talks about the 2 dead ash trees, and it says Sutherland Park.
Yes.
It should be Sutherland Farm Road. And then later it says Sutherland Farm Road, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's hard to get good help. Okay, correction noticed. Will be amended and, an official copy will set to John Carter for the records. Okay, with that correction, do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all in
Sylvia did.
favor? Aye.
I saw Sylvia.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, good deal. Okay, Mr. Mayor, up to you.
All right, I'll report on a couple of things. One is that I've already advised you that the city has selected Lee Tucci to receive the Beach Craig Mile Award, which is long overdue and well-deserved. And that is, to repeat what I've said before, we have a 3-person committee who advises me on that, and that is Todd Eberly, Linda Wardell, and John Embry, and they were unanimous in their support of that selection. So it's something I think everybody recognizes as long overdue and couldn't be going to a better person. So that will occur at the council meeting on Monday evening. The first exhibition in City Hall, Art in City Hall Prospect, wrapped up on Sunday with a lecture by John Begley and another opportunity for people to get together and to enjoy the art. We had 40 plus people, I would say. We had acceptances of about 50, our reservations for about 50, but we had a number well above 40, I would say. I was very pleased. John Begley a retired professor from U of L. His lecture was superb. And it was a very nice event. So the committee has grown, and it's a very enthusiastic group. Their plan is to hold another exhibition in at the end of June that'll go for several months, and then another one in the fall. The one at the end of June will be entitled Artists of 40059. And then they'll have, as I say, they'll have another exhibition in the fall, and then thereafter, their plan is to have 3 exhibitions a year. So I'm very pleased with the way this first exhibition went. Very high quality group of artists, and the art that was displayed was very, very excellent. So I'll mention a couple of things that are coming up in Monday's council meeting. One is there's an amended budget being presented for the council's consideration that sort of fine tunes the budget as we get into the wrapping up this year. The one thing of any consequence is putting some more money into the police budget, actually rearranging the money in the police budget, but adding to it, and that is so that we would have the opportunity to replace a vehicle that's out of service because of ongoing maintenance issues with a sedan. And the significance of that is that sedans are no longer going to be available for police cars. We'll have to, in the future, we're going to have to get SUVs, but we have a limited time where we have an opportunity to get a sedan, and the savings is about $6,000 per vehicle. So there's a real considerable money savings by moving forward with that purchase. So that's the amended budget that'll be up for consideration. There's also the forestation ordinance that we've worked on over time is going to be presented again for the first reading. The one that we had presented last time for first reading has been improved through the efforts largely of David Holmes, has spent individual time on it in addition to time with a group of council members and others in the community. And but I think it's in good shape, and that will be presented for a first reading on Monday evening. Also presented with it is a second draft or option that was written by Sandra Leonard in consultation with some other folks, and that really developed out of a proposal that Frank Fulcher had made when this came up back in the fall. So those will be on the docket for consideration, and we'll see how that moves forward on Monday. That's my report.
Okay, I do have a quick question. I saw that was going to get a first reading on Monday, and you said David had done a lot of work on, I guess, version A. I don't know that any of us have seen those changes. And
It's on the website now.
it is okay. We can look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you have any difficulty accessing it, I can email it to this group.
Okay, sounds good. We appreciate it.
Yeah, the changes are minor, but they're significant. They're very helpful, and it's in line with some of the concerns that people had raised about entry onto private property and so forth.
Yeah, and those were big concerns, and David did a good job working on the addressing commercial development and including forestation in, the permitting process and the reviews of plans. So I think these are all going to be good things. So we definitely will try and check that out before Monday.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, Linda, for just a second, David had presented for a first reading at the last meeting, and it received a first reading, an ordinance changing the building permit section on replacing trees that are removed. And after discussion with Ron Cundiff and further consideration, David has amended is going to propose an amendment to that proposed ordinance that does not require one-to-one replacement of trees, but just requires asks the Forestation Board to work with the developer or landowner on an appropriate number of trees to replace in the event of development of land that's undeveloped or otherwise trees are being removed, which I think is pretty rational, thoughtful way to approach it. And that'll be considered. Chris Gorman has advised that that's a significant enough change that the ordinance, rather the proposal that David is making, would require a first reading. It won't be a second reading, even though it amends what he's submitted before.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Well, I guess we don't have Andrea, but I do have a couple things that I can share from the consultant's point of view. We are up to, as of this week, and we had another one come in, there will be 8 trees planted for the canopy program. And so we had some participation throughout the city, and I thought it was kind of interesting. I looked at the addresses, and we have somebody from the Overlook, we have some people from Hunting Creek, we have someone from Sutherland, and we have someone from Fox Harbor. So I think that's great that the community is getting involved and becoming more aware of the program. The other thing I would add that I'm sure Andrea would be sharing with you is that she was working with Linda Wardell on the memorial tree for her mother. And they've agreed to a Sweet Bay Magnolia, which is a beautiful tree that will be planted in Little Hunting Creek Park. And it will be ordered along with the canopy trees probably tomorrow. So that will be something to go in yet this spring. So I think that's all I can add. She may have some other things that she would have shared with you. Hazardous trees, remediation, et cetera. There's a question on an address at Tallwood Court that needs to be looked at. And then there was a new potentially hazardous request review that came in this week that's on Fox Harbor. And Andrea, Lee, and I will be going to that location on Tuesday afternoon to look at the problem and determine what sorts of next steps need to be taken. So that's on the list. Going on down the agenda, the city tree plan, I think Lee sent out copies of the 23-24 for everybody to look at and be thinking about ideas or changes that they would want to incorporate. So I would like to hear everybody's thoughts before our next meeting because it is due by the end of April. Herb, you had something?
Yeah, on page 2, well, there's a misspelling down on the diversity about native and non-native. So it's a misspelling situation. But
Mm.
also our tree guide does not, it mentions small, medium, and large tree. It does not mention what's native and what's not native. So that's something that we'll need to work on if we want to do that.
So that would be a good goal to include in our plan is to update that tree guide and add the more specific information, particularly that there is so much more interest in using native trees and the benefit of doing that.
Boy, you're smart. You're right. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Herb.
On page 3, up at the very top, it talks about retention of dead trees and portions of trees for cavity nesting birds where such retention does not present an insect, disease or safety hazard. And maybe something about maybe visual, if it's sitting out on a major thoroughfare, I don't think, even though it's good for nature, I don't know if that's so good to
Maybe a review by location.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's fine if it's off the beaten path or in the back or something like that. But I don't think we want dead trees on
somebody's front yard. That's not really
Yeah.
attractive.
Yeah.
Understand.
So the visual should have some aspect of the criteria.
Okay.
And I guess the only other question is we all need to sign that. So I guess we need to before April 1. Is that it?
April 30th. And so we've got to finalize the language and we need to do the recap of some of the things that we did accomplish this past year that led to our getting another Tree City Award and the Growth Award. So we would want to include those as part of the presentation. So we will work on that and we can kind of work together and I'm sure there'll be some emails flying back and forth to make that happen. Next topic is the city tree plan. I guess there was a question brought up about these new roundabouts that are planned. How is that going to affect trees or offer opportunities for additional plantings in public spaces? And Lee said that you and Herb, you and Lee talked about that, and maybe you could comment on that.
Yeah, I think one of the things is like thinking about possibly planting, could be planting some trees now. Well, the roundabout's going to be major construction, and any tree planting should not be done until the actual construction work's done. I mean, it can be once. Right now, what we've heard is they're going to advertise for the engineering firm next month. It's a long process, so it's not a done deal as far as the design, because there's public hearings and people's input. Right now, it was a strong concept that has been endorsed by many people, including the city government, about it. But it's so consideration of trees, any new plantings is way premature.
Okay, so that's just something to kind of keep at the back of our minds as things develop. Connie?
Where is this roundabout being planned?
When is it planned?
Where is it? Where is it?
There's
Well, right
several.
now, in the planning study, now, it was a study, a big study that the city, sponsored and participated in. There's at Timber Ridge, at Fox Harbor. Those two, if it's going to be implemented, those two have to be engineering wise. They both have to be constructed. But then there's a consideration there at the Point at River Road for another roundabout. So there's just consideration of 3 roundabouts on US 42.
Connie, they replaced the 3 existing traffic signals.
That
So
is a big deal.
it's a big deal. It eliminates left turns and slows traffic, but traffic keeps moving. So there are a lot of safety advantages, a lot of reasons why we think it's a good idea.
Great, that's great.
And it ties in. There's other safety elements like median. So right now, anybody like to pull in those shopping areas, you can turn left, and that's where the 42 necks down, where it's narrow. There's not a turning lane. Well, there'll be a median, but in a roundabout, you just go up the roundabout and turn around and then turn into the place. But you can't just. So traffic will. The rear end accidents hopefully will be lessened, and there are a lot of rear end accidents on 42.
So if you want to get from City Hall to Starbucks, you don't turn left, you turn right. You go to Fox Harbor, go around a roundabout, and come back west and turn right into that's what I meant by it eliminates left turns. And Herb's point is the median there is going to prevent you from making a left turn, which should really improve safety.
Okay, anything else on roundabouts?
Herb and some other council members and I meet, I think, just about quarterly, isn't it, Don, with representatives of the Kentucky Department of Transportation, and sort of monitor how it's going and encourage them and answer questions and that sort of thing. So it's a real thing, and it's really moving forward, but it takes a long time. Not because people are dragging their feet, it's just the process.
Has there
Okay.
been any movement on increasing sidewalks?
That's part of the. If that concept gets approved and constructed, there'll be sidewalks on both sides. They're in that and between the two shopping areas. Yes.
Connie, we tried to get sidewalks now, and basically they wouldn't approve them because they would be in the way and they would have to be torn out to get into the construction process. So we're just going to have to wait.
And what we're doing now, Connie, I'm sure you know there in Sutherland, we've worked to improve the safety of the sidewalks, mitigate the trip hazards. And that process is now completed. So they used the precision cut method to shave down some of the trip hazards, but then some were not amenable to that. The dip gap was too much, and those have been replaced. There's new concrete in place, and that's true in Innisbrook also. We completed work in Hunting Creek, and that leaves Bridgepoint as the only other neighborhood that really has sidewalks. And our plan is to start with the improvements there shortly. But the construction of new sidewalks, not just from 42 or anywhere else, is a challenging and expensive proposition. We considered a sidewalk from Gunpowder to Little Hunting Creek Park to facilitate people who walk down to concerts or walk down to the playground, that sort of thing. And we wrote to the homeowners who live along there. We met with 2 of them and corresponded with a third. And there are a lot of unintended consequences if you start talking about putting in sidewalks, including drainage, that sort of thing. So our developers 50 years ago, 40 years ago, who chose not to put in sidewalks, made it challenging for us to go a different direction 40 plus years later. So we're interested and want to have more sidewalks, but you don't just wave a magic wand.
Thank you for keeping it in mind.
Oh yeah.
But one other just tidbit, all the improvements on 42 would not be any cost to Prospect. That would
Right.
be what all us taxpayers have paid, through the years.
The Kentucky Department of Transportation's assuming 100% of the cost of the improvements on 42, the sidewalks, the roundabouts. Originally we thought there'd be a 20% match, but they've taken it on and they're doing the whole thing. There's another walking feature that's in the planning stages that's, I think, very exciting. And that's a boardwalk from the back of City Hall over to Putney Pond. It was Don's brainchild, and he's leading a working group that's working on that. Steve Emily, the engineer we work with, has put together a pretty good plan, and we're meeting on about a monthly basis with representatives of the Department of Transportation, of KIPTA, and us. And I think that we will get something going on that within the next year. And it's going to provide more access to a really beautiful natural area.
Linda Wardell did an excellent job putting together a package to the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Board that had to approve that. And that wouldn't have happened without a lot of effort from Linda.
Thank you.
Well, and I'll say one other thing, and I think I mentioned this to Don the other day. I have, it sort of hit me even more recently, the importance of volunteers in this community. And our council, I include among the volunteers, because essentially their compensation is so nominal that they're really volunteers. But we've got such wonderful people who work on this board and on the Parks Advisory Group, the art exhibitions. They're just at a library. There's so many things that enhance the quality of life here that are handled by, staffed by volunteers, and it's just wonderful. And the incremental difference in our quality of life is remarkable because of all those contributions.
Yeah.
I agree completely. It's an amazing community in terms of the people that will step up and help in so many ways. And it probably leads in nicely to the next topic, leadership. And you talk about volunteers, as you know, the mayor pointed out that the league is finally going to get some well-deserved recognition on Monday night, but he was part of the original formation of the Forestation Board and has served since 2007. And, there have been times that I have filled in for him when he and Sandy are traveling. And, I've done so with pleasure because he's so good to work with. But as time has passed, he approached me a couple months ago. Would I take over the leadership of Forestation? And he would stay on the board as, probably our best cheerleader and advisor. And I told him I would do so. And he made the mayor aware of this proposed change. And, it's up to us to approve the leadership of the group. So we need a motion to appoint me chairman of Forestation.
I make a motion to
I-
appointment.
Yeah, me
Okay,
too.
Connie, go ahead, Connie.
I make a motion to approve Linda.
Okay, and there's still 3 of us left, so we can vote to approve it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, well, thank you all. I appreciate your confidence. And so I will be giving the report on Monday night. In addition to, maybe saying a few words about Lee and what an amazing person he is. So,
Look, Linda, we've learned about another amazing person, so thank you for stepping up.
and
Yeah.
I've had a little bit of experience. I was trying to remember exactly what year I joined Forestation. I know it was before 2010, so I've got a little bit of practice too. So
Yeah.
that I hope to put to good use and continue to learn from Lee as we all move forward with this project that we all care about. So I think that's everything that's on the list, unless there's another topic you all would like to bring
Yeah,
up.
yeah, there is one item. I'm gonna go back to the January 11 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that piece of that dead tree over on Gunston that has been determined to be not a public issue, but it's ugly and could be a problem.
Right.
And the minutes say the mayor and Mike will pursue, so I didn't know if anything has happened on that.
Good
No, it
question.
hasn't, but Herb, I'm glad you brought it up, and maybe I'll get you in. I don't know if Mike's still here today, but sometime maybe you and I sit down with him and talk about it and go over, look at it and come up with a plan.
Okay.
That'd be great. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you for agreeing to step into the role of being the chair of the Forestation Board. And you've done a great job, and the Forestation Board's in good hands. We very much appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. I've got a great team to work with. It makes it a lot easier.
Yep.
So unless there's something else, our next meeting will be April 11th. And I hope everybody can be at that City Hall meeting on Monday night so we can say thank you to Lead Together. So,
And that meeting will be 2:00 on April 11.
yes,
But don't we have to sign something?
that
On
will
April
be the new tree plan that we haven't finalized yet. And so once we have that document, I can either email it to you and you can add a copy, or I can have it at the front desk and you can stop by and sign it there. That's usually the easiest.
Linda, let me ask you one thing.
Mhm.
Don Gibson,
Yes.
I know there's a meeting on April 11th, I think, with the deputy mayor coming. What time of day is that meeting?
I think that's not on April 11th. I think that's April the 8th at 2 PM.
I've got my
Okay.
calendar right here. It is April the 8th at 2 PM. That's right, Don.
Okay.
Okay, so there's not a conflict, so.
Yep.
Good deal. Okay, if there's nothing else, I thank everybody and we'll stay in touch.
Good
All
meeting.
done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
See you,
Thanks,
Ron.
everybody.
Motion to adjourn?
We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.